These are types of innovation which all of you are familiar with. Remember, I said innovation is a discipline. There are many, many frameworks for design thinking, but I think this is the most simple one. Here, what you need to do when you start off anywhere, you put your challenge right here, as it is. The understanding of you trying to go into this human-centered design thinking is because the challenge, I'm saying it's a challenge, I'm not saying it's a problem, because challenge means there are opportunities. Always take that framework. The fact that you have a challenge means either the solution is not working or not working efficiently, or perhaps there's none at all. So what do you need to do? What you do is, in a framework like this, you stick it in the middle. And on your right is the solution space, which we always have been using. I'm guilty as well, until my mind was reformed, thanks to Dr. Shrikant Dattar, is jumping to solutions. How often have you heard in your corporate, in your boss telling you, fix it? And even worse, if you can't do it, I'll get somebody else to do it. Fear factor. So even if you have some bright ideas, you'd swallow it. That's not working anymore. See the left side of the problem, which is known as the solution space, which is what you need to look at in asking the question that, am I solving the right problem? You need to validate. Once you do that, solution is easy, because all of you in this room are domain experts. Yep, once you know the pathway, which direction to go, you know. Your domain will tell you whether to run, skip, swim, take a flight or a boat or whatever. I'm speaking metaphorically. However, if you don't know the direction, you are confused, and that's the day today. Today is the day of unknown, not known, unknown, no unknown, no, none of these fancy sort of combinations. I don't know what will work. So this framework is very simple. So on the left side, we start with a process of research, which is discovery. Once we've discovered the underpinnings of how the problem arose, we try and define it. Once we define it, we get a point of view. Once we get a point of view, we start throwing some ideas, and this is this phase of develop. And once you've found the direction and what I call a solution conjecture, then you quickly start prototyping. But everywhere, please remember, you have to have context. You have to be empathetic, and you have to be asking the right questions. And importantly, the user must be in the center. Let's demonstrate this. One of the good ways of taking another perspective of the challenge is abstraction ladder, which was attributed to Hayakawa, who was a psychologist. It has many applications, but it's one of the best applications is when you look at a challenge and you want another perspective, because the challenge as it is either not solvable or not efficiently solvable, or perhaps no solution exists. One of the things which is my way of approaching this is, if the original challenge is got you stuck, look at this abstraction ladder, start asking whys, which is basically you're putting convergent thinking. Then start asking how, which is, divergent thinking is why, convergent thinking is how. So by that, you actually deconstruct the original challenge into smaller challenges. And in that, find the challenge you can solve. So if a challenge is not solvable in its original shape and form, find the challenge you can solve. For instance, here, it's a very topical thing today. How might we make our employee experience better? There's so many moving parts in this. In its entirety, you cannot find the solution. So you start asking why. Why do you want to make your employee experience better? Doesn't feel engaged, doesn't feel wanted. Wants a safe workplace culture. Perhaps poor work-life balance. Here you're doing divergent thinking. You're deconstructing it into slightly larger parts. Sometimes a larger problem or a challenge is easier to solve because you have many more pathways in. Okay? So now, if I say that poor work-life balance is the new challenge for you to solve, it's much easier for you to tackle that than this whole big ocean which you are trying to boil. And again, one of my favorite saying is, if you can't boil the ocean, boil it one kettle at a time. I want one or two volunteers to see if you can broaden this with a few of your thoughts, given the fact that I've given some clues. Would somebody like to try? There are some post-its here, put it there. I'd like to see how your thinking goes. We have the original challenge as this. Now we are having a design lab here. So I am saying, ask questions of why. Why do you want to make this better? I've given you some clues. Can we have a few more, please? 1, 2, please, come up. It'll be nice. I would like some assistance. Don't worry, we're in a design lab. There's no fear of failure. That's what design labs are all about. That's what I keep encouraging companies, that if you can't change your culture, at least have a design lab. No, everybody is frozen. All right, so all I'm saying is sometimes a challenge in its original form seems unsurmountable. But if you break it up into this, that's something you can immediately solve. But don't jump to solutions first. There is a framework and there is a discipline. Now let's look at we've done the whys, which is divergent thinking. How is convergent thinking? All right? So, how can we make it? Offer well-being resources. Remember, mental health is one of the biggest scourges today in employee experience. And pandemic has exacerbated that. And most companies don't know how to handle it. You know, they are looking at things like employee engagement. It's not engagement, it's experience. How he or she thinks, feels, does at work. So this is something maybe you can start with and perhaps solve the problem.
So in my case, opening a free dialogue has worked very well.
Super.
That works excellent.
Okay.
So where the employee has the opportunity to walk in and address his problem, and he feels more secure that his issues get heard, and probably even if there's not a direct solution, at least he's comforted. He feels happy.
Excellent idea. Stop it right there, because we are now progressing into the next stage where I'll take your inputs again. All right, let's go into the next activity. Having identified that, let's say in your case, that workplace experience, we can look at it differently by making the workplace inviting. Let's take that. All right? Therefore, the next thing to do is throw up ideas to determine thoughts, insights, and this is all very collaborative. Remember, all the labs, workshops have to be multifunctional, collaborative, and empathetic. And I'll tell you empathetic how. It's collaborative. So here we are. It's a big design room lab with all of you people there, different thinking, different thoughts, which is wonderful. So now I ask again somebody else to come up, and we do an exercise called Rose Thorn Bud. And this is the way it works. This is the challenge you have. Now we will look at rose, meaning you give random thoughts. What will work towards that? Okay, that's rose. That's the pink. Then there is the blue. What won't work? And the third one, which is green, is we're not sure, might work. This is a good way of doing further thinking, frozen in time and space. All right, good. So this is how it works. You see that? It's a good way of displaying your thoughts. Somebody asked me, why do we use post-its?
It helps you achieve, get to the goal.
Okay. How many people in the room have played the game called Taboo? So what happens in Taboo? You have a keyword which your team is supposed to guess, but you give him all sorts of false trails but that word. Yes? That's how we think, and that's how we hold on to our ideas. Which is why when you put it in a post-it, you are letting go. As a result, you are giving a non-judgmental, non-critical idea out there. Hey, it's just a post-it among 100 others, right? Okay, so that's what the post-its are. And the other thing you can do, and the other thing it does in the design thinking workshop, and this is something which I find is wonderful, because your ideas are there. As you progress through the framework, you will see how your ideas actually move from discovery to definition to develop to deliver. You will find some of them dropping away, but some of them will remain. Okay? So what happens in Rose Thorn Bud? Look at it. This is an actual challenge for a team working on an international hotel chain. And the challenge was, how might we improve the check-in experience? Don't worry about what's written there. What's important is see the amount of stickies which are there of all the three colors. Rose, which means can do, might happen. Then we've got blue, which means not happening. And then you have green, could work. You need all of that. And this is actually a collaborative effort with so many perspectives. And what it does, it actually takes you into the next thing, which is basically you try and find themes. When you're finding themes, you're actually proceeding towards a solution conjecture. This one is, the challenge was, how might we launch a new program in a technical college? So they did all that. What will work, what will not work, what doesn't work. Then they found themes. They said, things like duplicated roles. So they said, all right, we need to clearly define the roles. That's something you can work on, right? Then coordinating the materials. So what's happening is we are slowly moving past the discovery define stage, and we are moving into a point of view which you can develop further. So where does that take us? What's the next step? It's a wonderful piece called Creative Matrix. How does it work? On the top, See, the challenge was how might we make the holidays more attractive. So if you were in a design lab, you would start with the abstraction ladder, break it up into smaller challenges, go into rose, thorn, bud, come up with what works, what won't work, what might work, find some themes. And the themes that came out were thoughts about families, couples, young singles, retirees. All the thoughts, the theme said, hey, this actually describes problems or potential or some things which don't work for families. Similar sort of cluster for couples. Similar sort of another cluster for young singles. This is a really advanced state. Normally, even if you get one or two themes, it's workable. But remember, this is called design principles, by the way. Design principles mean your final solution conjecture must meet with that specification. Why? Because you have evolved that point of view. All right? But what do you have to find the solution with? Your enablers. That's all you have. Okay? This is where there's a very favorite saying, think inside the box. You've heard of thinking outside the box? Yes? We use it all the time. People have made a lot of money on it. The big five have done it. They're probably going to shoot me, but that's the truth. Answer is very simple. In 1968, two psychologists did what is known, tried a 9-dot problem, which were basically 9 dots on a piece of paper. And the challenge was, how can you connect the dots in 4 strokes without lifting your pen from the paper? If you start here or you start here, it's not going to work. The only way to do it is this, 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 this. So you have to start from outside the box. Everybody jumped in. The consultants, the authors, they said, where to go? Think outside the box. What is the box? We don't know. But hold it. Then this is a lesser known. 3 months later, 2 other psychologists wanted to test. This was a test of creativity. Okay? The people who got it by putting it outside the box were roughly about 20%. So they said, let's repeat this experiment. You know, academics, despite what you may talk about them, they are the best harbingers of innovation because they can experiment in a space without fear. So they wanted to test this. Is it valid? Validity, not reliability. So what they did was they took 2 groups of people. One was the control group. They were told, whisper, whisper. The solution lies outside the box. And the others were told, go ahead, connect. You know what the result was? What do you think was the success rate of the people who were told, the control group? The control group were told that the solution lies outside the box. So they had so-called advantage.
They were told that the solution is from
Yes,
outside the box.
they
so
were not
had that
told the
mindset.
solution, but they say you got to start outside the box.
Yeah, so that's the only process that was going on in their mind, that they're supposed to be looking for solutions just from outside the box and no other way, because that's the answer.
Wonderful. The actual number of people who got it right, and this to any simple homebred statistician is not significant. So all that beautiful hype about think outside the box doesn't work. It is proved that if you want to be innovative, if somebody feeds something in your head, you lose it. However, in design thinking, we called what is known as a closed world principle, which is said think inside the box, because this is your box. This is all the resources you have. Hark back to the simple this thing. Necessity is the mother of invention. Here you have proof. So what happens after this? You may have 2 or 3 sort of options. How do you decide what to use first? Okay? What you do is first take a straight line on the x-axis, importance, and then move it up the y-axis as to which one is most difficult to do. And then all of you have done these sort of matrices, luxury, strategic, high value. Where would you start? What should you attain to be able to sustain your innovation?
Be a little strategic on that. First,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. Now that you have chosen what you want to innovate, what you want to prototype, you need to sell it, as they say. But I would rather say you pitch it. Whom do you want to pitch it? Please remember, stakeholders are important. So you need to pitch. And this is an actual pitch we did for a large insurance company. The problem was, how might we improve our customer experience? They were of the opinion that their customers were not right. One of the things which came out was, they haven't looked internally. It was not right inside. It's the first one I said, ask why. If you ask somebody, why is your product good? If they talk only about the product, they don't know their customers. It's exactly the thing. But here the more important thing is, how does it work? Feasibility and viability. Feasibility is the ability to quickly prototype. Okay, if that's difficult, then don't really go into it. And that'll come in the difficulty matrix, right? And viability is purely financial. Okay? So you have to do that, right? So therefore, what's the next step? Prototype. I'll quickly run through. These are the type of prototyping you can do. It's self-evident. I won't repeat it. Thank you. One last word. Always share your ideas. If you don't share your ideas, innovation dies with you. Why is that? If you share an idea, it becomes an insight. If the insight is useful, it becomes an invention. If the invention is used in practice, it becomes an innovation. And if the innovation is good, and you're able to change the way a person thinks, feels, and does, you can change the world. Thank you.
I think what's important for people to understand is to reward failures. That's the single biggest takeaway. Solutions are not as apparent and evident as they seem, even though you've asked why, because you've not put the process as yet.
Absolutely.
Covering all the stakeholders together. Most people fail to understand prototyping, be it rapid prototyping, because they think they don't have the resources to prototype. Most organizations fail in prototyping because they think it's a waste of money. The solution is very evident. Hence they do not prototype or get into rapid prototyping.
Yes.
So rapid prototyping is something that needs to be taught at all levels in products and service organizations, both, not just one part.
And importantly, it's all right to do it.
Absolutely. And it's all right to fail.
Yes.
So another thing that people don't understand, when multiple hows are asked, but synthesizing the problem is something very, very critical for managements to understand. And their leader has to take a call, because every idea is welcome. But at the end of the day, somebody has to crack the whip and say, okay, following ideas drop, these ideas stay.
Yes.
That decision making is in itself counterintuitive. And that's something very critical. I've seen large organizations fail because you don't have that leader who can crack the whip and have the guts to say that following ideas are to be dropped down. So when you're showing the post-its, following post-its go down, no matter which color. But that decision making in an organization, it becomes very ego-driven and centric. Oh, my idea is always rejected. I'm never promoted. This man, my boss, will never accept my ideas. But if rapid prototyping, synthesizing has been done with ideas, I think then one of the seniors need to take a call. So that part of it is something that needs to be elaborated.
Absolutely, very practical. And I would just add one more to it. And this is where you need to have multifunctional teams. And importantly, you need to have somebody who has skin in the game, leader. He has to be part of the team.
Absolutely,
Otherwise,
at all
not going to work
levels.
with. Nope.
Skin in the game at all levels, and
All
within
levels.
organizational hierarchies, cultures,
Yes.
it becomes
Yes.
a problem.
Yes, absolutely.
It's been a wonderful session. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and it was damn juicy, damn interesting, damn refreshing, and some of the anecdotes were great. Thank you all. It's been lovely,
I
and
would
thanks
like
a
to
lot.
get in a last word. Thank you for having me on this platform. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.